Hey guys, it is Christina here. Welcome back to the channel. I just wanted to say a few little things, and one of which is, do you love yourself enough to tell the truth? Now, this is one of those concepts that's been rolling around in my head for a little while now. And it's been like a whole lifetime in the making. So it comes from the idea that, we have some misguided beliefs within our societies, and those misguided beliefs are around all sorts of different things. We see them around money, we see them around health, we see them around relationships, and we see them around love. I see them around quite a lot of different things as well. And one of the things is, when it comes to love, we have this idea that love is only feel good, that it's only lovey-dovey and niceness and rainbows and fairies and sprinkles and farts. Like, it's only just the nice stuff. And actually, that's not what real love is. It's one version of love. And if we look at, the many different versions of love, there are lots of them. And one of them is kind of this lust type of experience. The other is, when we get into a relationship with someone, and you'll know this if you've ever been in a relationship that's, 5, 7, 10, for me, I've been married for 20 years now. In the beginning, it is all just like niceness. It's all like, oh my God, it's so amazing. And he touched me and he looked at me and it feels amazing. And it's all of that, hormonal sort of stuff that makes us feel really great. But at some point in time, that starts to settle. And as that starts to settle, what we really have to work into is true love. And true love moves beyond the feelings of lust. They go beyond the feelings of sensations and hormones. It actually goes to the point where you are willing to embrace having difficult conversations and hard conversations and say the things that maybe you wouldn't say if you didn't really love someone. Now, what I mean by that is that to be able to get into a deep, congruent relationship with someone where you're really authentic, you have to be able to enter into spaces of vulnerability and have conversations that lead you into spaces of vulnerability. Now, the challenge is that many of us have taken our outside relationships and moved them to inside relationships. So, for example, we've got a lot of acquaintances and light friendships that we would think are love, but actually when we get to the root, get down to the core of it, aren't actually big, deep loves, in the sense that we love them so much, we're willing to risk them not loving us back to say something that is important. Like, I love you so much, please don't walk in front of the train. Like, that seems fairly obvious that we want to say those things, but there is this idea that we don't want to say some of the hard things, that we don't want to put up any boundaries, that we don't want to set any firm follow through on some things. But actually, doing that is an expression of love. If you see your friend about to walk into a really toxic relationship, a real, true, loving friend actually tells you, I think this is a toxic relationship. A non-completely engaged, deep, vulnerable friend doesn't tell you that. They just go, oh yes, I'll be there no matter what happens. And the one that loves them will absolutely be there no matter what happens. Whatever choice that they make, whether they choose the toxic relationship or they choose not to go into that toxic relationship, they will be there no matter what happens. They'll be the people that will help them bury the body, do all the things. They'll be the ones that will be there at 3 a.m. in the morning and actually do that follow through. But they're also the people that say the hard things, and often the things that we need to hear. And we have learned in some ways, and it's not in all relationships, some of you may have some really beautifully fantastic relationships, but from what I see within my clients when I'm working with them, is that we have learned that the relationships need to stay just nicey nice, that we don't offend anyone, we don't say anything that we think is, bad or true or anything that could upset them, because that wouldn't be love, and that's not actually the truth. Now, I take this concept and I want to apply it internally. And so one of the things that I have learned this year in regards to my own experience and my own journey with health, and it's been an ongoing one. It hasn't just like snap, bam. It's been one that has evolved over time. And in that evolution over time, one of those things was, do I love myself enough to tell myself the truth? So do I love my spouse enough to tell them the truth? And sometimes that's challenging because we don't actually know what the truth is. So, I was sharing this probably earlier in the year that, one of the realizations that I had this year was that a mechanism that I used to try and get something that I wanted was to not be so nice to my husband. I might be a little bit gruff with him, might be a little bit rude to him, might be say things that I don't necessarily mean, and I know that they're a little bit spiteful. And he received that as, oh my God, she's so angry with me, she hates me, she's blah, blah, blah. But actually, what I was really trying to do was say, I'm so stressed and worried, and I've got stuff going on. Can you just love me right now? That's actually what I was trying to do. Not consciously. I didn't know that was consciously what I was doing, but that was a subconscious pattern that actually created the opposite of what I wanted. And we do these things to ourselves all of the time. And so one of the things that I had to ask myself is, do I love myself enough to tell myself the truth? And telling myself the truth was, these patterns that I'm doing are not working for me. The things that I'm eating are not working for me. And for me, at this point in time, I had to get to the point of the sugar's not good for me, which, is fairly obvious. The grains are not good for me, again, fairly obvious. And process of elimination, all the plants, except for maybe some herbs, are not good for me at this point in time. And that doesn't mean it's not good for me forever. It just means at this point in time, it's not good for me. It's not serving me. It's not actually helping me. And telling myself the truth was to go beyond the I'm fat, I'm lazy, I don't deserve it, I'm not worth it. All of the stuff that we often will say to ourselves, look at you, you're so dumb, you're so stupid, you're blah, blah, blah. That's not the truth. Those are the safety mechanisms of where we're pushing ourselves away so that we don't get to the truth, which is, can you just love me right now? Can you just love me right now? Can you give me some extra love? And the truth is that when it comes to love, I don't think love is sugar. I think that's poison. And that's not to condemn. That's to say there's a pattern here that we probably want to change. And that we don't need to change it all in one go, but can we take some steps to actually change it so that we're doing something different? Just like me in my relationship with my husband, recognizing that what I was doing was actually, not getting me what I actually wanted. It was the opposite of what I wanted, because it was pushing my husband away and sort of drawing him closer to me and allowing me to get that love that I was actually missing in that moment in time. But it required me to sit down and ask the truthful question of what do I really want right now? What is it that I'm really craving right now? When I'm doing this thing, what is it that I'm really actually seeking? And then be able to move past the fear of asking the question, do you love me? Can you love me right now? Because that's scary, because the answer could be no. That's a risky question to ask, because the answer at any point in time could be no. It's not, but it could be. And we have these little quirks that we do within our own personal lives, to ourselves, with others, all of the time. And the question we really are asking is, can you love me right now? And remembering that love doesn't always look like comfort. We think that it does. It's not. Sometimes love tells you the hard things that you need to hear. Is that challenging voice that makes us rise up and actually do something about it. Sometimes it's the challenge, sometimes it's the sternness, sometimes it's the discipline, sometimes it is the comfy place. But there isn't a lot of growth in comfort. There is rest in comfort, and we need to balance that. We need to rest, but we also need to grow. And we go through periods of rest and grow. And so we want to ask even those questions of, am I in a phase of I actually just need to rest because I've drained myself completely? Or am I in a space where I actually need to grow and I need to let go of the comfort? Or I need to look at some of the spaces where I don't want to, I'm avoiding being uncomfortable, but it would actually benefit me to be uncomfortable there. And getting to the point of, do you love yourself enough to tell yourself the truth? And what is that truth? Remembering that the truth isn't always nice and lovey-dovey and feel good and all of that. It sometimes is. But also, the truth sometimes is hard, sometimes it's harsh, and sometimes it's what needs to be said in order for change and growth to happen. But it is always within the best interest of the person. And that's the difference between somebody who's just criticizing, because criticization is not helpful. And that's what we do to ourselves most of the time. That is how we think we're loving ourselves, is we criticize ourselves most of the time. And we say these crappy things. But that is just the strategy. That is just the protective tool that's being used versus getting authentic, getting vulnerable, and actually getting to the thing of, what am I not saying to myself? One of my favorite coaching questions that I ask my people is, what do you want me not to ask you? What is the thing that you're sitting there right now going, I hope she doesn't ask me about that? Because that's the thing we actually need to work on versus all of the other stuff that gets put on the table. Which, sometimes we need to do the other stuff just to build the confidence and so on. But it's not where the real work is. The real work is in what do you want me not to ask you right now? What do you want to not face right now? What are the things that you're afraid I might say or others might say to you right now? And let's work through those and let's seek what they are and let's unpack those. And so I want you to dance with this concept of, do you love yourself enough to tell yourself the truth? Knowing that that isn't sitting there blaming yourself, shaming yourself, condemning yourself. That is, truthfully, I know this thing's not working for me. Truthfully, I know that doing this action is not actually loving me. I know giving my body sugar is not loving me. I know that's poisoning me and that's damaging me. So it's not love. What are some of those things for you? All right, there's my thought for today. Hope you have the most amazing day ever. Make sure you've liked my page, you follow, all of the things. Bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day.